Merry meet. So it's time for me to review another paranormal show. And the show I want to review today are Ghost Asylum. Now, as might be got from the title, it is about people going into old abandoned asylums. For the most part, asylums that have been in a few prisons and a couple of factories too during the series. But for the most part, asylums. And yeah, snooping around for ghosts. So what do I think of this series? Well, it is one of those series that does not use a psychic. It uses just basically gadgets of various kinds, EMF meters, ghost boxes, all of those things. And that makes it a bit different. But at the same time, I sort of feel like they don't really have a lot to work with when it comes to helping these spirits. Because let's say that the show is true, and people are asking me if I always believe in these paranormal shows. No, absolutely not. There's a lot of ways a television producer can cheat. The shows are interesting, and some shows are far more believable than others. But that doesn't mean that you should blindly trust them. But yes, generally, if we assume it's true, then they are sort of going in there, they're stirring things up a lot. But without somebody that knows how to help these spirits on, there's not really a lot more they can do. So there are 5 guys, and they are very southern. That's sort of the stick with the show. They're very southern. So basically what you have are rednecks hunting ghosts in asylums. If you think that premise sounds good, then you will probably like this show. Now, I do like some of it. Some of what I get on the EMF meters are very interesting. There's a lot of the things that they show are very interesting. And they do a fair deal of research, and it seems like they know at least some of what they're doing, which makes it a quite interesting watch. Now, what I do not necessarily like is that they focus on trying to catch a ghost. Every time they build a trap, they're supposed to try to catch a ghost in, and of course it never works. It seems to me that these guys have watched Ghostbusters just once too many, and yeah, it would have been so much, and they're talking about doing this to help these ghosts get out of these locations and moving on and so forth, but it would have been so much more helpful for these spirits if they had just brought a medium on the team. So, do the things seem serious? Yes or no? When I heard about this show, I got immediately skeptical because it sounded like it would be very I can't talk today. Sensationalist, and it is sort of, because they're going into all the asylums and the worst of prisons and so on and so forth, and really stir things up. So in that way, it's definitely not they're definitely not looking for the sweet old grandfathers that are just upset that the new owners of his house has cut down his berry shrubberies. Instead, they're definitely seeking out the bad stuff, but at the same time, they do know how to use their equipment. They do seem to do some debunking, though not a lot of it. And at times I am a bit skeptical about just how much readings they get on these various meters, because other paranormal groups, it doesn't tend to be that much of it when it's so overwhelmingly much, then I get a little bit skeptical. But they do seem to have quite a bit of know-how, and yeah, so I would say that it is sensationalist, but of the sensationalistic, I can, of the sensationalistic paranormal shows, this is one of the better ones. Now, one thing I do not necessarily like is that one of the group members have Asperger's syndrome. That's fine. You can definitely be a paranormal investigator and have Asperger's. I have Asperger's. But they tend to use a bit like a slur within these asylums. Because, yeah, definitely it's true what I say, that a spirit of somebody who had mental problems in life might want to seek out somebody with mental problems. But at times you see this is getting too much for him. And I just don't think that is... I mean, he's an adult man. He gets to choose what he wants to do. But I sort of feel like they are taking a chance there. And don't take this as saying that somebody who has Asperger's can't do paranormal shows. But it's the same as, let's say there was a massacre of nurses. I would not necessarily send in somebody who works as a nurse into that environment and sort of use them as bait, because it just can get too much. But yeah, and the casts are charismatic enough. The one thing I do not like is that I have two people that are pretty large there. I have one person there that's sort of the designated fat boy of the group, and of course it's food jokes constantly, because if you're fat, the only thing you think about is food, right? Yeah, that sort of pisses me off. But all in all, if they had dropped the stupid catching ghosts in boxes concept of it and just focused on the investigations and then fact-checking that, I would have been a really big fan of this show. As it is, I think it's an entertaining show. I don't have a lot against it, but it's not going to rank up as one of my favorites. Now, this show has 2 seasons, and there's under 10 episodes in each season, so it's not a hugely long show. I'm not sure if they're making more. I think perhaps they're making more. And if they do, I will probably watch those episodes as well. Now, like I said, if you like paranormal shows, you might like this one, though it is towards the sensationalistic end of it, which might be off-putting to some people. And it's definitely towards the darker end of it, because they are visiting a lot of places where there was a lot of human pain and suffering, and the energies and entities they're dealing with, if we assume that what they're saying is correct, are somewhat on the darker side. So this is not one of the lighter paranormal shows, but all in all, it's decent. I'll give it 6 out of 10, and that's my review of Ghost Asylum. I hope you have enjoyed this review. Have a great day, and blessed be.